This is Coach's Corner.
Welcome, Commodore fans, to Coach's Corner, a production of Gulf Coast State College. Today, Coach Scovel and I will talk about how the Lady Commodores did in big wins and big games last week, and a big game coming up. And then, if we have time, we'll talk about a little postseason. Lady Commodores right now 26-2 overall, 9-2 in the Panhandle Conference, ranked number 1 in the state coaches poll, ranked number 3 in the NJCAA national poll. And as kind of we talked about it at the beginning of the conference, this was going to go down to the last games, and that's what it looks like it's doing. It's going down to the last games the Lady Commodores will be in. They've clinched a playoff spot, but everything else is still up in the air.
Yeah.
So, but before we talk about that, back on the 11th of February, Chipola came to town, and we came up short, 72-62. We won Chipola won the first quarter, we won the second quarter. They won the third quarter, we won the fourth quarter. A back and forth game, but it's really hard to beat a team like Chipola 3 times in a row.
Oh, absolutely, and they did a great job of taking us out of any comfort zone offensively. We couldn't execute very well, we didn't shoot very well, and at the end of the day, we hopefully we learned something from it and grow some more and get better at some things that we couldn't do. And I guess fortunately it paid off. We got the next 2 wins, but that was a tough loss at home. And like you say, we just keep playing each other, and it's tough to continue to play the same team over and over again.
And when playing that, Maria Castro was the only player in double digits at 18 tonight, and everybody else were all single digits.
Yeah, Maria kind of stepped up to the plate, and it was a physical game, and she said, okay, then let's play. And some of the rest of us decided that we didn't want to get that physical, and we just kind of let it get to us and got frustrated, and Chipola had the upper hand on us, and of course they went away with the victory.
So when they got the victory, it looks like, I wasn't here, I was out of town, and I tried to listen to as much as I could, but it looks like the third quarter, Chipola just came out and just played pretty. Their defense must have been tough to hold Lady Commodores.
It was. We struggled the whole night to execute anything and get any rhythm. And and then on top of that, the little bit that we did get, we didn't score. We couldn't hit any shots, and it was just one of those nights where nobody could do mumuch of anything. Maria was good, but even what she got, she had to fight hard to score and perform. So, we took a loss, and at the end of the day, I would have thought we would have lost at Chipola and maybe won at home when we started the season. Well, we got to try to hold the home ground, and but we snuck one on the road and got one and lost one at home. So at the end of the day, we still have the 2-game lead, and right now, even if we lose Wednesday and Chipola wins out, we'll still go in the state tournament as the number 1 from the Panhandle. So we have clinched a share of the title. Now it's just a matter of whether we're going to share or not. We hope not.
And when you say share, out of the 3 games, you won 2 of the 3. And so because you won 2 of the 3, the head-to-head for first place comes into play.
Right.
And that's why you've already clinched that Panhandle Conference champion playoff berth.
Right.
But whether it's at Panhandle Conference or co-Panhandle Conference championship, still in the air.
Right.
So we can talk a little bit about it. 15 turnovers to their 7. We shot 13 of 18 from the free throw line, 72.2%, 5 of 12 from the three-point line for 41.7%, and 61 from the floor for 36.1%. So, and Chipola, their defense can get up in your grill.
They did. It was a physical game, and we just didn't respond to it, and hopefully that'll help us as we move forward. We're in, we get to go to postseason play at this point, so now we got to get better at those things, and so maybe that loss will help us get better, and it won't be such a surprise next time that it happens, because it's going to happen again, and hopefully we'll come out on the winning side if it does.
And when you say that, we could end up playing 1 and/or 2 Panhandle Conference games.
Yeah, you never know. The way the bracket is, you finished as the 1 going into the tournament, but the number 3 seed may be in the same bracket, along with Palm Beach is in the same bracket, the next highest ranked team from the Region 8. So that side of the bracket is beginning to look extremely tough at the state tournament.
Now, on the 14th, Valentine's Day,
Yeah.
traveled over to Tallahassee
Yeah.
and got a win on the road, 92-82. I heard the last little piece of that game and amongst it going on and off. And so Lady Commodores, Tallahassee, 28-23 the first quarter,
Yeah.
and then Lady Commodores come back 27-20. And then Tallahassee came back 17-15, and then Lady Commodores 27-17 in that fourth
Yeah.
quarter. So that was a battle, tough place to play
Yeah.
against a very good team.
Oh yeah, that we were 9 for 12 at halftime from 3-point range, and to shoot 75% from 3-point range, and the best you could do is at the end of the third quarter be tied. You would think with that kind of shooting you'd have a big lead and walk away with the victory, but it was hard fought that fourth quarter. We went into the fourth quarter with a tie game at 65, and we just managed to execute down the stretch, hit some free throws, made some big stops, and made some big plays.
So, and a good quality win there.
Oh, absolutely.
Because here was a case, if you get into a head-to-head, you
Yeah.
wanted that 2-1 advantage also.
Absolutely.
Because Tallahassee could be working around in here.
Absolutely. So it's kind of settled at this point. Definitely first and I guess Tallahassee and Chipola. But the way we're looking at this thing for postseason, it's kind of looking like it's 1, 2, 3, with Chipola being number 2. But still got this week to play. We have 1 game left, and Tallahassee has 1, and Chipola has 2 games left. So we'll see. There's a lot to play, and the Lady Commodores, hopefully we're in control of our own destiny. But it'll be an extremely tough game to go to Pensacola on Wednesday night.
Wednesday night, we got that, and some big games going on Wednesday night, and then Lady Commodores off Saturday,
Yeah.
and there's some big games going on Saturday.
Absolutely.
And so, and it may go all the way down to Saturday before we know for sure where everybody fits in there. In that game, we did turn the ball over, or they turned it over 18. We turned it over 16.
Yeah.
In Tallahassee, that's a tough place, and their defense is really
No,
good
it's
too.
very good. That's probably a good number for turnovers. The way the game was physical and the way it's played and high intensity, we'll definitely live with that. I think it was just amazing that we had to shoot so well to even just barely come out with a victory. Of course, it was 10 in the end, but it certainly the 10-point victory was not indicative of how tough the game was.
And if you look at that, excuse me, Taylor Emery now back to 25 points, kind of her game.
Yeah.
Compared to the game before that. Castro with 13, Dunlap with 10, Bennett with 25,
Right.
and Edwards with 10. Much better scoring from Lady Commodores.
Absolutely. We shot the ball well. If we could shoot like that every game, we'd be tough to beat. But that's why you go play them, and sometimes you shoot and sometimes you don't. And but that was a great victory on the road. That was one of those where, if I had to bet, I probably would have bet against us. It's just tough to play there, and they're very, very good. And so we definitely snuck away with a great victory on the road.
Because that was the one out of the 3-game series I was the most concerned
Yeah.
about. I thought Tallahassee, they're really good. They
Yeah.
play great defense, and
home.
that's a tough place to win.
Absolutely.
And so at the end of it, if I couldn't hear the games or something, I was texting him to be able to, who's winning, what's the
Right.
score, what's going on. So, and then this past Saturday, Northwest Florida came over. We won 85-63, and won 3 of the 4 quarters, tied the second quarter 20-20. But we picked up another Panhandle Conference win.
Yeah, it was big. Northwest is so talented. If you look at their record, you wouldn't give them much of a thought. But they have size, they have shooters, they have speed, and it's just amazing that we swept them in the series because they're very, very talented. And just that little missing piece that they just couldn't put it together. But the talent was definitely there. They just had a couple missing things, whatever it was, chemistry or emotion or physical, conditioning. I'm not sure, but they definitely have enough talent to. They would do well across this country.
And if they were in any other region,
Oh, absolutely.
probably would be
Probably win it.
probably win
Right.
it, go to the national tournament.
Absolutely.
But because they're in a Panhandle Conference, it's tough.
It's tough. Yep.
And so, and if we look at that now, I didn't hear most of this game, didn't hear any of it. Ty scored 22 points.
Yeah, they didn't even play her. They just double teamed and let her open and said, let's see if y'all can, let's throw another wrench at Gulf Coast and see if they can win if we do this. And she struggled early, missed a lot of shots. And if she'd hit those early, I think we would have gotten an early lead quickly. But eventually is like, you just got to keep shooting and you got to put these in. It's an open shot. You can do this. And, for her not to lose confidence in missing the first 3 or 4 or 5 shots and to turn around and hit 4 threes and got a lot of layups, and Ty was definitely the key in getting that victory.
When I was looking at it this morning, I went, wow. And then Taylor Emery with 25.
Yeah.
Nothing unusual there. O'Neal with 11 and Fox with 10.
Right.
All your double-digit scoring for the game. But, I guess they doubled down and left Ty open, and you got to give her credit.
They did, yes. It was pretty amazing that she hit those shots. And like I say, for her not to just kind of shut down and say, I'm not going to shoot anymore. Hey, I've missed a few. And, she kept shooting, and eventually she was pretty dominant.
And it fall in. So 19 of 22 from the free throw line, 86.4%. 10 of 30, 33.3% from three-point line. 28 of 75, 37.3% from the floor. So shooting that night.
Yep.
And then we'll quickly, Wednesday, we go to Pensacola.
Yeah.
And, right now Pensacola is 18-8 overall, 3-7 in the panel conference, ranked number 7 in the state coaches.
Yeah.
But that shows the respect they have for those. Both Northwest Florida and Pensacola ranked in the top 10 in the state coaches poll.
Yep.
But we're beating each other up.
Oh, absolutely. It's a shame because the Panhandle has just done so well, and Pensacola, they just have such feisty guards and they're quick. I've just kind of said all year I thought they had the quickest guard, quickest hands, and quickest feet of anybody in the Panhandle that we play, and so I think it's going to be awfully tough. It's the last game for them. They can just go out and relax and put Gulf Coast as the target, and I think they're going to play well, and I know that we're going to have to travel to Pensacola and play a tremendous basketball game to come away with a victory.
Don't Pensacola play Chipola on Saturday?
Yes, it's the last game for us.
Last game for us. Okay, and it will be our last game, but Pensacola then will travel Saturday to Chipola,
right?
Which can have some impact.
Yeah,
have some impact on us. Could have some impact on Chipola,
right,
depending on how or what they do there.
Right.
And so, and then Chipola's at Northwest Florida Wednesday. You would expect Chipola to pick up that win.
Right.
And then Northwest Florida is at Tallahassee on Saturday.
Yeah.
So, so a lot of ball still going on. We have defeated them twice already. The first game back on the 18th of January, we won 103-83.
Right.
But that was a much tighter game than the final score.
Yeah, and we shot the ball well in that game. And then when they came to our place, we didn't shoot as well, but we came away with another lopsided victory. But some of these lopsided victories are just not near. It's a lot tougher. It's a lot tighter than what the final score shows. So I just know that this is our final game. We can win the Panhandle outright if we just go win. So I can't imagine us having to motivate effort this Wednesday, but it's junior college basketball, so you never know. We'll see. We're going to go give it our best shot, and at the end of the day, we can call ourselves Panhandle Conference champions, just whether we have to put Co in front of it or not. So our kids, like we told them the other day, you've earned the banner. It's just what exactly the banner's going to say.
And then quickly, we also played them on February 8th here, 187-62. So. If we quickly look at the Panhandle Conference standings, Gulf Coast 9-2, Chipola 7-3, Tallahassee 6-5, Pensacola State 3-7, and Northwest Florida State 1-9. So, like you said, the three are in there. You just got to figure out how they will follow.
Well, we're one, we know for sure, and probably. Tallahassee has to win and Chipola has to lose the next two for Tallahassee to get that tie. But even if they get the tie, it looks like we're going to be going head-to-head, and Chipola won that twice. So it appears that 1, 2, and 3 is set in the Panhandle. So we'll play these next two games, and we'll finish our last one on Wednesday, and we'll know for sure on Saturday just exactly where everybody stands in the Panhandle.
So, all right, Coach, we're out of time. So for Coach Scovel, I'll be right back, Commodore fans, with Coach Jay Powell and talk about how the men did and what's coming up for them this week. Commodores 16-12 overall, Coach. 2-9 in the Panhandle Conference. Played 3 games in the past week since we've done a show. Back on the Whoops, I better get these in right order for them to make sense. We played Chipola back on the 11th and lost 98-95. I was out of town. That's you're right there.
I believe on the 8th, just before that, we on that Wednesday night we won against Pensacola. You might have that file in there. But yeah, we beat Pensacola. We haven't had a shot had a show since then. Men played very well. We played tough. We had some men step up and make big plays. Londell King especially made 3 3-pointers in the second half that allowed us to step up and win that game. So I was pleased with our effort. We in non-conference we were 14-3 and things were going well, and but things haven't gone the way they usually do for us in the conference season. But when you get a win with about 4 or 5 games left and things haven't gone the way you want, your men are still battling and competing, and you pull out a win. It makes you appreciate the men more often. I tell them that we're playing as a test of our character and integrity right now, since for some reason junior college in Florida is the only level of basketball in the whole world that I know of that you don't have a tournament for the teams that are at least pretty good, but that's the way we do it here. I'm sure it's a good decision, but it was done before I got here. So you're playing for pride, and you're playing to show that you do have character and integrity, and that you do care, and you're not apathetic. And so to get that win against Pensacola was a nice win. We changed up our game plan. We were able to press them a little bit, and that was effective, especially early. Then they kind of caught on and made some adjustments. But then we were able to still fend them off and get that victory. So a good win against Pensacola at home. The home crowd was into it, and we appreciate that, of course. But the men just kept chugging along. After that game, as you mentioned, we played Chipola at home, had the opportunity to take the season series against them. We came up 3 points short. We had a good shot in the corner to tie it at the buzzer. And it rimmed out. I told the young man that missed it that I don't even want to bring up his name because he shot a great shot and had played a really hard, good basketball game for us. Told him after the game in the locker room, I said, son, it was 2 inches. 2 inches. He was in the right corner. 2 inches further to the left, that ball goes in, and we'd have been celebrating and then going to battle in overtime. But it bounced off, and that's the way it is. Give Chipola credit for a good win for them. But again, it was one of those games where our men played hard, competed against a team that I don't want to say necessarily has more talent, but definitely has more size than we do. And so that was impressive. Jeremy Harris played so well and had 42 points for us and shot the ball well from the perimeter. But he's always played well against Chipola. That's one of the couple teams that he's actually been successful and played well against. So proud of Jeremy for stepping up in that game. Also, as a side note, with 6 minutes to go in the first half, Londell King goes down. We don't have him the rest of the game, and now we're not going to have him. We haven't had him the rest of the season. And he had been playing well and doing some good things for us. As I mentioned earlier, he had kind of made the shots that allowed us to separate at the end from Pensacola and win that game. It looks like Londell's going to be okay, but I'm just not going to risk it and play him in these final 3 games. When you're dealing with head injuries, I think it's best just to be cautious and err on the safe side. But a good game, a great atmosphere there against Chipola, and now they've come back and they've beaten Tallahassee the other night as well. So they're in a situation in the conference standings where if they win their last 2 and Tallahassee loses their last 2, then there'll be a 1-game playoff here at Gulf Coast. So exciting times in the Panhandle Conference, even though this year, unlike the last 3 or 4, maybe 5, we're on the outside of the interesting, fun part as opposed to being in the middle of it. So best of luck to all those teams. But in that Chipola game, the men competed, played hard. I thought that we did some nice things defensively, even though they did score 98 points. We were able to take away some of the things that allow Chipola to create separation from their opponents sometimes, and so we came up a little short. Again, we were right there, but the ball didn't fall our way. We didn't make our own breaks, however you want to look at it. So after that Chipola game, we move on in to the Tallahassee game. At Tallahassee, we got down a little bit, but it was one of those things where we just chug along, and all of a sudden you look up and there's 6 minutes to go, and we're down by 3, making a run. I did receive a technical foul. It was the weirdest technical foul I've ever gotten in the second half of that game. And again, there was maybe 7 minutes left in the game. I told the referee, I said, that call stinks, but it was a good call. It stinks because it hurt us, but it was a good call, and he gave me a technical. But whatever on that, I'm sure that they do a good job and care about the work that they're performing out there. But that was an odd situation for me to compliment an official and get a technical foul. But the guys, they played hard. We had other guys step up. Van Johnson in the second half, golly, he just stepped up and made plays for us, defensively and offensively. And against Tallahassee, I'll also really compliment Jeremy Harris's defense. In the first half, we put him on Simmons, who we believe is Tallahassee's best player, most effective player. And he did a good job of limiting him. He used his length to bother Simmons, who's a very, very good player going to Middle Tennessee State. And then at halftime, Crouch, number 2, had 16 points. So we say, okay, well, maybe we need to go with somebody a little longer on him. So we adjust and we put Will on Simmons, who did a pretty good job on Simmons in the second half. And we put Jeremy on their basically guard that runs their team. I don't know if we would always call him the point guard, but he runs their team. And Jeremy just did an outstanding job defensively in the second half on Crouch. So, Jeremy's been such a valuable player for us over 2 years, but maybe I haven't been able to compliment his defense as much as his offense over the 2 years. But in that Tallahassee game, Jeremy just did a great job. And also kudos to him, because after the game, he came and asked, did Crouch score in the second half? And he did, but it was never where he was going off on us. Like, it was 2 free throws, a breakaway layup against our press late where we're trying to catch up. It wasn't because of Jeremy's lack of defensive effort or ability. And so, boy, that's a long way for Jeremy to have come over the 2 years for his first question and his main concern to be how he did defensively. So proud of him for that. And in the second half, I'll admit on this, through watching film, watching them live, we played them 2 times. It took until halftime of that third game before I finally, there were 2 minutes to go in the first half, where finally some thoughts from experience and just looking at the way they defend came to me on maybe some ways to get some buckets against them, against Tallahassee, because they're so good defensively. And in the second half, we ended up, now who knows, by the time we played them again, they would make some adjustments as well. But then we scored 50-something points in the second half that night against Tallahassee. So the guys did a good job. Assistant coaches coached hard. But we came up a little short. They made a few free throws. We had it 3-5 there. They made a few free throws to beat us by 9 at Tallahassee. Again, good job by Tallahassee in that game. But we're right there. It's just a list of maybe 3 or 4 plays can go differently, and we'll be more successful and be able to get wins instead of losses. Then we move on, and we have our Northwest Florida State game the other night. And it's similar in some ways, other than the last 7 or 8 minutes we played without Van and Jeremy for maybe 3 or 4 of those minutes, because they both had 4 fouls. And it went from a 5-point game. We missed a free throw to cut it to 4. And then we end up in the last about 6 minutes. I didn't have enough fouls and I didn't have enough timeouts to control them. Northwest Florida is so explosive. And they did so well to end up blowing the gap open and defeating us handily in that game on Saturday night here. But good luck to them. They won the conference. They're undefeated in conference with 2 games left. They have a good opportunity to win those final 2 games. I think they've already sealed their fate to the national tournament, barring something crazy happening. And so we want them to go and represent our conference well and win the whole thing. And I think that they have the firepower and the coaching and the resources to get that done. And I'm really hoping that Northwest Florida State does that here in the next couple of weeks as the junior college season ends.
And that's a recap of the last 4 games the men have played. Now, Wednesday, we traveled over to Pensacola. We split with them. We beat them here 78-74. First game, they beat us 76-69. And so both teams now just playing for pride. So what do you expect for Wednesday night?
Well, we'll see. They're in a situation where they're going to be at home for their sophomore night. And they're also, Coach Pina is a good coach, and they're fighting. They have to win their final 2 games to not have a losing record. So for the second year in a row. So they're going to have a lot of motivation. They're going to want to be 500 or have a winning record this season. And their sophomore night, they have a few sophomores that they're going to want to send out on a good note. We're fighting for win number 17, win number 3 in the league. We're fighting to finish our season on a strong note and to send Jeremy and Van out with a win as our only 2 sophomores. Now we have a couple other guys that were freshman qualifiers that are going to move on, but we have some things that we're fighting for, and we're motivated to play well and win for, and they do too. So I think that you're going to see what our culture for young people today would say as a game that maybe young people will not battle and compete. I think you're going to see just the opposite. I think you're going to see 2 coaches, well, I know 2 head coaches that are going to want to win just like it was the NBA Finals. And I think you're going to see some young men that their culture and their surroundings would tell them, their environment would say, oh, this game's not that important. I think you're going to see young men out on the court battling, competing, wanting to taste victory one more time before the offseason hits.
And if we look quickly at the panel conference standings right now, Northwest Florida State College, as you said, is already qualified for the state tournament and the panel conference champions, 10-0. Tallahassee Community College 7-4. Chipola is 5-5. Pensacola State 2-8, and Gulf Coast State is 2-9. And so right now, Chipola, as you talked about, has got to win some ball games to keep their hopes alive. If they did, then we'd have a playoff game here next week.
Yeah, it could be very interesting. Both teams are very talented. Both have already won over 20 games for the season. So it would be an interesting game to watch. Chipola takes 2 out of 3 during the season, but the way it's set up, and this is done before the season starts, so it's not changing the rules. Even though Chipola's won 2 out of 3, if they tie for second place, there's a 1-game playoff, which I think that part of our setup is valid because you have the skewed, you go to someone twice, and then they just come to you once possibly. So having that 1 playoff game makes sense to me. So that would be fun and intriguing to watch and to see. But however that works out, I wish either one of those teams absolute best in conference. In the state tournament, and hope they represent our conference well. There's been a couple times it hasn't, but in my tenure, including the year we went, it's been probably out of those 10 or 11 years, it's probably been 2 Panhandle Conference teams 8 or 9 of the years that I've been here. And so we want that to continue.
Coach, we're out of time. So for Coach Jay Powell, I'm James Baxley. Thanks for watching, Commodore fans, and we'll see you next time on the Commodore Sports Network.
This has been Coach's Corner with your host, James Baxley.